Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. My daughter's voice came to the phone like a punch to the chest. Not loud, not screaming. Just cold, rushed, and deadly serious. My name's William Harrison, and that morning I learned something no father should ever hear. I was standing in my garage, gripping the edge of a metal shelf, so hard my knuckles went white. I had come home early, something I never did on Wednesdays. Normally, I spent those mornings killing time at the hardware store, chatting with guys half my age about tools I didn't need anymore. Retirement had left me restless. Too much silence. Too much empty space. But my truck had started making this weird, rattling noise, and I figured I'd grab my toolbox before it turned into a bigger mess. That small decision saved my life. I didn't announce myself when I walked in. Didn't call out. Didn't make a sound. And from the kitchen, I heard Sarah, my daughter, my only child, the girl I raised alone after her mother passed away when Sarah was just 12. Her voice wasn't warm. It wasn't loving. It was sharp, like she was arguing. "Marcus, I'm serious. We're out of time," she said. "The debt collectors are circling. If we don't fix this now, we lose everything." My stomach tightened. Marcus, her husband, the smooth-talking real estate guy who always had a new project, a new pitch, and somehow always a new excuse for why the money wasn't there yet. "Relax," Marcus replied, his voice lower. "We just need the right window." "The right window?" Sarah snapped. "My dad's retirement money is just sitting there, and that lodge trip solves everything." The lodge. I felt the blood drain from my face. Just a week earlier, they had surprised me with a gift, a month-long stay at a remote fishing lodge in Alaska. All expenses paid. Private guide. Wilderness. Peace. "Happy retirement, Dad." Sarah had said, hugging me tight, "You've earned this." I believed her. Standing in that garage, I realized how stupid that was. "Are you sure the guide understands what he's supposed to do?" Sarah asked. My legs went weak. Marcus chuckled softly. "He's a pro. Stuff like this happens up there all the time. Slips, falls, bear scares. Rivers don't forgive mistakes, especially when you're pushing 70. Pushing 70. I'd run a marathon last year, and it won't come back to us?" Sarah asked, her voice suddenly shaky. "No chance. Offshore payments. No cell service. No witnesses. It'll look like a tragic accident." They paused. Then Marcus said the words that cracked something inside me forever. "We inherit the house, the insurance, the accounts, and we're free." My house. The house I built with my own hands. The life insurance meant to protect my daughter, not motivate her. I must have made a noise. A breath. A shift. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked. Marcus scoffed. "Relax. Your dad's at the hardware store, like always." I didn't stick around to hear more. I backed out silently, climbed into my truck, and rolled down the driveway without even starting the engine. Only when I hit the street did my hands start shaking so bad I had to pull over. The daughter I raised, the child I would have died for, had just planned my death. And the worst part? They thought I'd never see it coming. I had two choices: run and spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, or walk straight into their trap and flip the whole damn thing upside down. I drove for almost an hour without realizing where I was going. No music, no phone calls, just the sound of my own breathing and one thought looping in my head like a bad nightmare. My daughter wants me dead. I kept replaying her voice. Calm, focused, like she was planning a grocery run, not my funeral. I wanted to believe I misunderstood. Wanted to believe stress had twisted her words. But deep down, I knew better. You don't accidentally plan a murder. Eventually, I found myself parked outside a small brick building downtown. No big sign. No fancy glass doors. Just a brass plaque that read, "Theodore Chin, attorney at law. Ted." And I went way back. I'd worked with him on construction projects over the years. Smart guy. Straight shooter. The kind of man who didn't panic, but didn't sugarcoat either. I walked in and said, Ted, I think my daughter's trying to kill me. He didn't laugh, didn't blink, just closed the door and told me to sit down. I told him everything. Coming home early, the garage, the lodge, the guide, the money. Every word hit harder, saying it out loud. When I finished, the room felt heavy, like the air itself had thickened. Ted leaned back slowly, fingers steepled. What you're describing, he said, is conspiracy to commit murder. I swallowed. So call the cops. He shook his head. Not yet. That's when reality slapped me again. No recording. No witnesses. No proof, Ted continued. Right now, it's your word against theirs. And trust me, no jury wants to believe a daughter would do this without evidence. So what? I asked. I just cancel the trip and pretend I never heard it? Ted paused. That's one option. And the other? He leaned forward. You go to Alaska. My heart dropped. You want me to walk straight into the kill zone? I want you to turn their plan into evidence, he said. You document everything. You get them or whoever they hired to talk. And you come back alive. Alive. That word carried weight. Ted didn't lie to me. This is dangerous, William. One wrong move, and you don't get a second chance. But if you pull off, they won't just lose the money. They'll lose their freedom. I thought about Sarah as a kid, gap-toothed smile, scraped knees, calling me her hero. And then I thought about her voice in the kitchen, cold and calculating. Tell me what I need to do, I said. That's when Ted brought in Rita Valdez. She was sharp, mid-50s, eyes that missed nothing. Former FBI. The kind of woman who made you feel safer just by standing in the room. Rule number 1, Rita said, sliding a tiny recorder across the table. You don't confront anyone until we have proof. She fitted me with devices, one in my watch, one in my jacket lining, one hidden in a fishing vest. Waterproof, shockproof, Alaska-proof. You need them talking, she said. Details, names, money, method. We make it airtight. I asked the question that had been clawing at my gut. What if I don't make it? Rita looked me dead in the eye. Then we make damn sure they regret it. But I don't plan on losing you. The next few days were surreal. Sarah called, cheerful as ever. Dad, you packed warm clothes, right? Marcus emailed lodge details, flight info, smiling emojis like everything was normal. I played my role, the excited retiree, the grateful father. Inside, I was gearing up for war. At the airport, Sarah hugged me tight. Too tight. Have the best time of your life, she said. Marcus shook my hand. Be careful up there. Nature's no joke. I smiled. Neither am I thought. As the plane lifted off, I stared out the window, watching the city disappear. Somewhere between the clouds and the cold, one truth became clear. They weren't just testing my life. They were testing whether I'd be brave enough to fight back. I was flying toward the most remote place I'd ever seen, with recording devices on my body, and no idea who exactly was supposed to kill me. Alaska didn't welcome me. It hit me like a slap the moment I stepped off the plane. Air so cold it burned my lungs. Skies stretched wide and gray like it didn't care if you lived or died under it. This wasn't a vacation spot. This was the kind of place mistakes didn't forgive. A single prop plane waited on the tarmac, paint chipped, engine coughing like an old smoker. That was my ride to the lodge. No return flights listed. No schedule. Just when the guide says so. That should have been my first red flag. The pilot barely spoke. Just nodded when I gave my name and loaded my bag like it weighed nothing. As the plane lifted off, civilization vanished fast. Roads turning into scars, then nothing but white and dark green wilderness. Miles and miles of nowhere. 2 hours later, we landed on a frozen strip that looked like it was carved out with a chainsaw and hope. That's where I met Evan Brooks. Tall, beard like he hadn't seen a mirror in years. Eyes sharp, scanning everything. He wore a heavy jacket with the lodge logo stitched on, but something about him felt off. Not friendly, not cold either. More like measuring me. You William Harrison? He asked. Yeah, that's me. He nodded once. I'm your guide. No handshake. No smile. As we loaded gear onto a snowcat, I noticed something Rita warned me about. His hands. Steady. Scarred. Not the hands of a fisherman. More like someone who'd been in rough situations and walked away. The ride to the lodge took nearly an hour through frozen forest. No cell signal. No radio chatter. Just the engine growling and snow whipping past the windshield. Finally, the lodge appeared, wooden, isolated, sitting beside a half-frozen river, like it was hiding from the world, beautiful in a scary way. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. "You're the only guest this month," Evan said casually while showing me my room. Of course I am, I thought. That night, we ate stew by lantern light. The generator kicked on and off like it couldn't decide if it cared. Evan barely talked. I barely ate. I waited. People always slip when they think you're harmless. On the second day, we went fishing upriver. Ice cracking under boots. River moving fast, angry, black beneath the white. That's when Evan finally spoke. "Your daughter must really love you," he said, not looking at me. My chest tightened. "What makes you say that?" He shrugged. "Trip like this ain't cheap." I smiled, played dumb. "She said I deserved it." Evan snorted. "That what she said?" I stopped walking. "What do you mean?" I asked. He turned slowly, eyes locking onto mine. For a moment, the air felt heavier than the cold. "People don't usually send 70-year-old men out here alone," he said. "Not unless there's a reason." I felt the recorder against my wrist, humming silently. "You saying something's wrong?" I asked. Evan stared at the river. "I'm saying Alaska's full of accidents. Slips, falls, people disappear. Happens all the time." There it was. I forced a shaky laugh. "Nature's wild, huh?" He stepped closer. Too close. "Question is," he said quietly, "did they tell you what kind of accident they were hoping for?" My heart slammed. "You talking about my daughter?" I asked. Evan exhaled slow. "I got a call before you arrived. Offshore number. Man named Marcus. He offered me a lot of money to look the other way if something went wrong." I felt sick, but I kept my face calm. "And did you take it?" I asked. Evan met my eyes. I didn't say yes. Relief washed through me, then froze. I didn't say no either. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind howl like it was laughing at me. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every shadow felt alive. On the third morning, Evan handed me extra gear. "We're going deeper today," he said. "Better fishing." I knew what that meant. Deeper meant no lodge, no witnesses, no easy escape. As we loaded up, Evan leaned in and whispered, "If you got anything you want to tell me, now's the time." I swallowed. Maybe it was time to stop pretending. Or maybe one wrong word would get me pushed into a frozen river. I was alone in the Alaskan wilderness, with a man who knew someone wanted me dead. And I still didn't know if he was my shield or my executioner. The morning air was sharp, cutting through my jacket like knives. Every breath felt like ice filling my lungs. Evan didn't say much, just loaded the snowcat and drove us upriver into thicker forest. The deeper we went, the narrower the paths became, snow piling high on either side like walls ready to crush you if you slipped. I kept my recorder hidden, my hands trembling under layers of gear. My mind raced. One wrong move, one slip on ice, one misstep in the dark, and I'd be gone. And Marcus and Sarah, they'd never be questioned. My own daughter planning my death. It twisted my gut in ways words couldn't touch. We reached a fishing spot that looked like it hadn't seen a human in decades. Evan parked, and for the first time, he looked me square in the eye. "You're aware of the stakes," he said, voice low. "If they've sent someone to accidentally remove you, it could be now, or any moment in the next few days." I nodded. "That's why I'm recording everything. They won't get away with it." Evan's lips twitched. Was it a smile? Smart man. But recordings won't stop nature from doing its thing. That river isn't forgiving. We fished in tense silence. I tried to act calm, making small talk about lures, fish species, even his beard. Anything to appear normal. But every sound, every shadow, kept my heart pounding. My eyes constantly scanned the edges of the forest. Every snap of a twig was a potential threat. By mid-afternoon, Evan suggested a break. He pulled out a small thermos of coffee and handed me a cup. "You know," he said, leaning close, "I'm not just a guide. I've dealt with situations like this before." I froze. My gut screamed. "You mean people trying to kill someone?" "Exactly." He sipped coffee. "And I've learned one thing. Trust is a currency here. You don't trust the wrong person. You trust the wrong person once. You're done." I stared at him, silent. The wind howled around us, carrying the smell of pine and danger. For the first time, I realized I wasn't just fighting for survival. I was in a game where the rules weren't written. As the day wore on, I noticed subtle signs: broken branches, footprints in the snow, a fishing line cut in a weird way. Someone was testing the waters, maybe scouting. Marcus and Sarah's plan wasn't just theoretical, they were active, and I had to act before it became too late. That night, Evan and I set up camp near the river. I finally dared to speak. "Why are you helping me?" Evan's eyes reflected the firelight. "Because you didn't hire me to die, and because I hate people who play God with another man's life." I wanted to believe him. Had to. There was no one else. Not even Sarah, my own flesh and blood, could be trusted anymore. I reached for my recorder and hit the on button. Every whisper, every laugh, every move Marcus and Sarah had made. It was all going to be evidence. But recording them meant I had to bait them, and baiting meant I had to act vulnerable, put myself directly in danger. And I knew the first opportunity was coming fast. I was miles from civilization, alone in the wilderness, and walking straight into a trap my own daughter had laid. The river looked calm that morning. Too calm. A thin layer of fog hovered over the water, rolling slow like it was hiding something underneath. Evan tightened the straps on his pack and checked the rope twice, something he hadn't done before. My instinct screamed that today was different. "You good?" he asked. "Yeah, I lied." Never better. We moved along the icy bank, boots crunching, the sound echoing way too loud in the silence. Every step felt like a countdown. I kept thinking about Sarah as a kid, how she used to beg me to teach her how to fish, how she'd laugh when the line tangled. That same girl had signed off on this moment. Cold truth hurts worse than cold air. We reached a narrow crossing where the river squeezed between jagged rocks. The current there was vicious, chewing at ice like it was nothing. Evan stopped. "This spot's tricky," he said. "You slip here, you're gone in seconds." I nodded, heart pounding. My recorder was on. If anything happened, it'd all be captured. I took one careful step. Then another. That's when it happened. The ice under my left foot cracked, sharp, loud, violent. I went down hard. Pain exploded up my leg as my body slammed against the rocks. My fishing pole flew into the water. The rope slipped from my grip. For a split second, I saw nothing but white sky and black water rushing up to swallow me. This was it. This was the accident. But Evan moved fast. Too fast for someone who didn't expect it. He lunged, grabbed my jacket, and slammed his weight backward. My body stopped inches from the edge, water spraying my face like a warning shot. I lay there gasping, chest burning, staring at the sky. Evan didn't let go. He pulled me up slowly, eyes locked on mine. "That wasn't random," he said quietly. I was shaking too hard to talk. He dragged me away from the edge and sat me down on solid ground. My hands were numb. My legs screamed in pain. "You okay?" he asked. But his voice wasn't gentle anymore. It was sharp, focused. "They cut the rope," I said finally. My voice cracked. "Didn't they?" Evan looked at the snapped fibers hanging loose. "Clean cut. Not ice. Not wear." "Yeah," he said. "Someone wanted gravity to do the dirty work." That's when my phone buzzed. No signal. No bars. But the lodge Wi-Fi kicked messages through when it felt like it. A text from Sarah. "Everything okay? Haven't heard from you today. Red heart." I stared at the screen, rage boiling. She knew. She was checking if I was still breathing. I typed back with shaking hands. "Almost slipped by the river. Scared me bad." 3 dots appeared instantly. Oh no, crying face Alaska can be dangerous. Please be careful, Dad. Evan watched my face. She's fishing for confirmation, he said. They want to know if the first attempt worked. Another message came in, this one from Marcus. Guides know what they're doing. Trust the process. Trust the process. I showed Evan the text. His jaw tightened. That's enough. We're done playing defense. That night at the lodge, Evan set up cameras. Real ones, not just my hidden gear. Angles covering doors, paths, river access. If anyone showed up, we'd have them. But the real move? We baited them. I recorded a shaky voice message and sent it to Sarah. I think I hurt my leg pretty bad today, I said. Evan says we might need to go out again tomorrow, deeper upriver. Silence. Then her reply came. Too fast. Whatever Evan says, do what he recommends. That confirmed it. They were pushing for another chance. That night, as the wind rattled the lodge walls, Evan handed me a satellite phone. If tomorrow's a play, he said, we turn it into a confession. I stare at the fire, my hands clenched into fists. I wasn't running anymore. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was hunting the truth. They tried to kill me once, and failed. Now they were pushing for a second shot that I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the cold, not because of the pain in my leg, but because I knew something most people never get the chance to know. The exact moment the people you love decide you're disposable. The lodge creaked as a wind slammed into it, like the whole place was breathing heavy, waiting. Evan sat across from me, cleaning a knife, not threatening, just focused, calm, like a man who'd been here before. Tomorrow, he said, we don't go fishing. I looked up. Then what? We call them. That scared me more than the river. By morning, the sky was a dull gray, snow falling light but steady. Evan set up the satellite phone and synced it with my recorder. Everything would be saved. Voices, timing, intent. This is the only shot, he said. You get them talking or it's over. My hands shook as I dialed Sarah. She answered on the second ring. Dad, you okay? I let my voice wobble. Not really, sweetheart. I think I messed up my knee worse than I told you. Silence. Then, what do you mean worse? I can barely walk, I said. Evan says the only way back is by boat, but the river's rough. He wants to try today before it freezes more. I heard her breathing change. Faster. Did he say it's safe? She asked. Safe-ish, I said. But if I fall again... I let the sentence die. She swallowed. I could hear it. Put him on, she said. Evan took the phone, his tone flat. This is Evan. Marcus's voice came on the line instead. Listen, Marcus said. If there's a chance to move him today, you should. Weather's not going to get better. Evan raised an eyebrow at me. I leaned closer to the mic. Marcus, I said softly, are you sure this is a good idea? A pause. Then he laughed, nervous, forced. William, accidents happen. You said it yourself. Sarah cut in. Dad, please, just do what Evan says. We trust him. That word again. Trust. I took a breath and dropped the mask. You trust him to do what exactly? I asked. Silence slammed down hard. I continued, voice steady now. To let me slip? To make sure no one comes looking? To turn my death into paperwork? Dad, Sarah started. Don't. I snapped. I heard you. In the kitchen. Every word. Her breath hitched. Marcus cursed under his breath. The line stayed open. You planned it, I said. The lodge. The guide. The river. You thought Alaska would clean up your mess. Sarah broke. We didn't mean it like that, she cried. We were desperate. The debts, Marcus said. You signed off on killing your father, I said. Say it. No. Say it. Evan said coldly into the phone. Marcus exhaled. Fine. Yes, we needed the money. The insurance. It was supposed to be quick. There it was. Clear as day. Recorded. Time-stamped. Unmistakable. Sarah sobbed. I didn't think he'd actually die. I closed my eyes. That's the problem, I said. You didn't think at all. Evan ended the call. The lodge felt empty afterward, like the truth had sucked all the air out of it. "They're done," Evan said. "Lawyer already has a feed." 2 days later, state troopers met us when we landed back in Anchorage. Sarah and Marcus were arrested that same night. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. They never even made it to their bed. As for me, I came home alive. But I didn't come home the same. The house felt quieter, bigger, like it was mourning something that died that wasn't me. I canceled the insurance, changed my will, and started over on my terms. Because blood doesn't make family. Choices do. They tried to bury me in Alaska, but instead they buried their own future. And if there's one thing I learned the hard way, never underestimate a man who's got nothing left to lose.